everybody. I'm very happy to see you here on this Sunday in our live talk. I'm greeting Dr. Mansoor Mirza from India, Storme Reeves from Australia, Neil Dougan from Australia, Wendy Howard from Portugal, and hopefully Martha Wanjau from Kenya will join in the next minutes. Today our topic is matters of the heart, how to relate, connect, and keep distance at the same time, which is a bit difficult, at least for me. So I'd like to hear something from our experts upon this topic. And I would ask you to introduce yourself a bit, and then we jump middle in the discussion. So who wants to start?
Okay, well, I'll start. So I'm Neil Dougan. I'm in Western Australia, and I working as an author and a clinical practitioner, consciousness work, and a lot of that work is to do with matters of the heart and matters of relationship, and been developing techniques around the opening up and management of relationships. And particularly the minds that are associated most with relationships. So that's me, and I'm very pleased to be here with you all.
Who's next?
Hello, I'm Dr. Mansoor Mirza from Mumbai, India, and I'm a holistic healing practitioner. So I practice homeopathy and other holistic methods to heal the patient.
Yes.
That's all. Thank you.
That's all? Okay, thank you. Who's next?
I'll go. Good morning, everybody. Well, it is in Portugal. My name's Wendy Howard. I live here, although I'm originally from the UK, where I practice permaculture, regenerative design, and teach same. I'm also a qualified homeopath. To me, connecting from the heart is all about our connection to nature and the natural world and our place as nature rather than within nature. That's me.
Thank you. Storme?
Okay, hi, my name is Storme. I'm a sound therapist and counselor, choral director, singer, songwriter, a few of those things. And I work mainly with clients to do like the counseling component of things with them. And then I do the other part of the session with the sound therapy to treat them in a holistic way. And then I do work with a lot of kids with singing, which is also a therapeutic thing. Even though they're singing lessons, it's definitely, yeah, helping them find their voice and connect in that way there. So that's me.
Yes, you definitely cannot sing with a closed heart.
No.
That's absolutely impossible. And before we started our talk today, we heard from Dr. Mansoor that in India today is a very big festival. So maybe, Mansoor, you can tell us about that?
So Holi is the festival, and it's a festival of colors. So it marks the end of spring and the beginning of summer. And so, they play with all different colors, and they sprinkle colors and on everyone, and they throw a little bit of water. It's like a, whole community. So everyone is playing together. It's like a whole community thing. And, everyone is very excited, and they all leave their egos behind, and they just want to be involved in that whole atmosphere of music and color. They play with flowers, and then they have some drinks, and maybe some of them are intoxicants, like, cannabis drinks to a small extent. So they're all in a state of ecstasy in the end. So it just shows that you can all connect with the heart by leaving your egos behind. So when your ego is not there, then your heart is more open and you can connect with it thoroughly. So that's what festivals are all about, being on the same level and the same soul level as everyone, and without your ego coming and obstructing your heartfelt emotions.
Yes, it sounds very coherent, very playful,
Yes.
like big children just having fun.
Yeah, yeah. The whole family comes out together. So they're big children and little children and everyone, and they wear white clothes so that the colors all stand out on the white clothes. So,
Yes. Yeah, I never participated in something like that. Did you, Neil?
sorry.
No,
Yeah.
no. Sorry,
I just asked Neil whether he ever participated in Holi because I did not. I don't have any experience.
Okay.
look, I absolutely love it that in India there's so many festivals, and indeed everything is designed to actually get people operating from their heart. In fact, it's the connection to the community, so it's that heart connection to the community, and in the way that Wendy's talking about seeing yourself as part of nature as well. So that's such a strong element of culture in India, which is largely missing in the sort of Western context where we are. There's not too much diversity of that sort, and there's certainly not too many opportunities for people to let their metaphorical hair down and enjoy themselves. That's not too common. You can see Storme nodding her head. There's really not a lot of options there.
You can start a little festival there as well with Holi festival when all this lockdown stops and the virus is, on a very low ebb.
I think there's too many motorbikes and hotted up cars where we live.
Okay.
I don't know if the population is equipped.
Well, in our culture, we have similar festivals, but they're much more about just getting out of your head.
Yeah.
Dancing to repetitive music all weekend. But it can serve a similar impact too.
Okay.
Similar purpose.
Mm.
So, what is the last experience of coherence and heart coherence you can remember? Today, I had a meditation together with my cat Leon, and he is master of coherence. So, the moment he comes on my lap and he sees I'm meditating, he goes into deep meditation too. And this is such a coherent field that I hardly can get out of the meditation anymore. I need him to leave to get out of meditation. So, what has been your last experience of coherence?
Well, about half an hour before coming on to this call, I really felt I was listening out and I could hear my worms in my worm farm. Mm-hmm. And I could hear that they wanted some different conditions. And so I went down there and I, was talking to the worms and finding out what it was that they needed. And it was very much a heart-based thing. So there was definitely a heart energy, going on. Of course, worms have 7 hearts, so you've got to love them. And in any case, it was a very coherent experience, between myself, the worms, the fungi and the bacteria that are living in the worm farm, and this sort of notion of what they had there actually in the way of a diet. And it was a heart-based connection to actually observe what it was that they needed, that had to be changed for them. So that was my most recent heart coherence experience for me. My worm farm, yeah.
Oh, mine was yesterday during meditation. I've been doing some work with Neil on understanding the stuff to do with your centers, the moving center and heart center and intellect and so on. And so I've been completely out of sorts for the last 4 days or so. And yesterday, I just had one of those meditations. I became fully coherent, and it wasn't a lot of analyzing or searching for information. And it, sometimes when you meditate, everything just suddenly, it just drops down a notch, and then you feel completely connected to everything. And it's very peaceful, and there was lots of love and warmth, and that's what I've been yesterday.
Sounds good.
Nice. I had a similar meditative experience. So before this talk, I was wondering what I'm actually going to talk about. So I said the best way to connect to the heart is connecting to the heart chakra, which is in the center of the chest. So you just breathe and you slowly close your eyes and you visualize the energy from the universe coming as white light and entering your body through the crown of your head and going all down below, right up to the base of your spine. And then you visualize the lower chakras, the root chakra, that is the 7 chakras in all. So the root chakra, the sacral chakra, the Manipura or the umbilical chakra, and then the heart chakra. The heart chakra is in the center of the 7 chakras. And you just feel from your heart, and you have to express the love to others and get the love from the universe back. So you express your love to everything around you, not only human beings, all the creatures around you, people, animals, everything. So you're full of love, and that love helps you to expand, to energize. And you also are at peace and calm. So your head is cut off actually, and your heart is open. So you feel like that. Thank you.
Wendy?
It's hard for me to specifically pinpoint any one particular moment, because winter time here, I'm alone on the Kinter. It can be sometimes a week at a time before I see people. And during that time, there is no awareness of self. I'm just totally in the land, and the connection is free flowing. So it becomes my normal state. And, as the year progresses and more people come into my life and my realm here on the farm, each year goes by, I manage to push that state further and further and further into normality, so that I'm kind of in many ways not out of it. And I find, like, during that time, then the level of communication that comes through rather than out of increases in coherence, in quality, in dynamism, in on-point messaging, to use all the buzzwords. It's something that consciously I stay in for as much as possible of my time, even while relating with this sort of false world, this construct that we live in.
You're in a very good place, Wendy. So you're teaching Martha from Yutugi Angels in Kenya. Hi, Martha.
Yes. Hello.
Hi,
Your
hi,
picture
Martha.
is a bit upside down.
Hello.
Hi.
Still upside down? Your phone or your tablet is tricking you, I think.
It's messing me up.
Yeah, yes. No. Yes, now this is going good. Hi, Martha. Very great that you're here. We are very happy.
Thank you. Thank you.
May I introduce to you Dr. Mansoor Mirza from India, a homeopath and holistic doctor, Wendy Howard from Portugal, permaculture specialist and homeopath, Neil Dougan, consciousness trainer from Australia, and Storme, a sound therapist from Australia too.
Okay. Glad to meet them.
Martha, may
Hello,
you
Martha.
shortly introduce?
Hello, Martha.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
Martha, could you just introduce yourself a bit?
Yes, my name is Martha Wanjau. I am from Kenya. I am the founder of Otugi Angels, and a project that for persons with disabilities. And I am happy to be here. Thank you.
So are we. Martha, we were just talking about heart coherence and how we can get into coherence and what was our last experience of coherence. And I guess coherence is very big picture for working with disabled children, isn't it?
Yes. I'm in a very noisy place. Let me just relocate.
Yeah, relocate.
Yes. All right. I am glad to be here. Let me just listen to you, then I'll be able to catch up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, who wants to talk next about matters of the heart? Who did prepare a topic?
Well, one of the things I wanted to talk about was the popularity today in discounting the relevancy of the other minds within the being. So we heard from Mansoor talking about, the heart chakra, so the chakra systems and so on. And obviously the heart chakra doesn't exist in a vacuum. And neither does the emotional mind or the heart brain, the thorax brain. It doesn't exist in a vacuum either. And so one of the things that I've been working with a lot is, whilst being aware of keeping the ego as limited as possible, which is, a lot of what has been talked about there before, there is this role in actually opening up the communication between all of the minds. So, the mind of the relationship, the mind of the instinct, as well as the mind of the emotions, or the heart, as we're describing it. And so that would be, the area. It's not exactly a concern that I have, but I'm just aware of the fact that in our, the modern culture and the way that we're looking at these things, and like as modern journey is, or however it is that we're progressing, is that we have this kind of view which is against the intellect, and and really, to my, from what I'm observing, is that takes away the opportunities for real coherence. So I'm aware that Martha's working with, for example, autistic children amongst many other disabilities. And I do a lot of work with the autistic spectrum as well. And one of the things that I observe with, the kinds of triggering that actually sets off an autistic experience is dislocation or, disconnection of communication across all of these minds. So if we are just retreating only into our hearts, then we're actually opening ourselves up for a kind of overwhelm, which will undoubtedly lead to, to issues. So I just wanted to, put that out there as being not exactly an alternative, viewpoint, but just, something that I'm so aware of in, like the common culture, the way that we talk about these things. And I know therapeutically that I would not have the results if I was to, dismiss the other minds and not actually really work with focusing around actually trying to get all of the five minds actually into some sort of coordination, for that matter, the chakras. So I'll throw that into the ring, and love to hear what other people have got to think about it.
Can I comment? So I agree with everything you're saying there, Neil. And I was just thinking of when clients come to see me, pretty much it's probably 100% of them, but we'll say 99% of them come in and they're just, it's just all in the or majority in the ego mind, and they're just really, really caught up in the drama of what's going on. And most of the time I'll just do 5 minutes. I'll say, look, put your hand on your heart and let's do some breathing in and out of the heart. And it's just like if you took like a before and after photo of them, they're like completely different people. So the way I would work with that is they come in with that, and then because sometimes you can't actually help them if they're in that state, you know, because there's no point. It's like trying to help them inside of the movie story that they're in. There's no point in doing that because they'll just go and create another one anyway. But so do the heart coherence is really good. And, you know, after about I'll just do it for about 5 minutes. And then suddenly they're just so much more grounded, and then we can connect, and then we can actually start to look at what patterns might be sitting underneath, or, you know, like with the Buddhist philosophy, actually just going in and breathing with what's the main dominant feeling. You know, I'm breathing in, I see fear. Breathing out, I tend to fear. And really simplify it down. And then I find, you know, once we go through that process, then you're able to come back to the intellect and do a bit of analysing once they've become coherent in their heart, but not before. Yeah.
There's a saying in Austria, the longest way you can take is the way from the mind to the heart.
I've kind of evolved a slightly more different approach, I guess, more idiosyncratic, because I don't do so much in the realm of body work. Homeopathy is very mental in some ways. Not that I'm practicing that at the moment, but my main role over the last few years has been very much to receive people here and to have an experience with them. And what I found is that the homeopathic principle works, treating like with like. So first we go into the mind. And I find it's very useful to present people with a model that allows them to understand the difference between living as nature and living as a human ego separate from nature. And when you've got that model installed, then it becomes much easier to drop them into the experience of living as nature, as a cell in the body of this amazing living system that is completely intelligent and complex beyond our wildest imaginings. And then they can perceive not only their place in things and start to feel it and take it into their bodies, but also understand why humans trying to fix the planet is such an insane idea that we need to submit. We need to submit and say, take it. You have the greater intelligence. Tell us what to do.
And then take the teachings from the planet.
Yes, yes. Because the minute you are living in that state of coherence with what I call the system intelligence of the planet, I use that term because it's mostly free of cultural baggage, so it works across the board. Once you are working at the instruction of the system intelligence of the planet, then you are directed to place, you are directed to action, and it doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense to you, it fits into the whole. And the more that you operate in that realm, the less sense of a self there is. It just literally falls gently away. So it's quite an interesting approach. It's kind of just evolved. Didn't follow anybody else's directions.
Yes, it's quite the same I'm doing here with the animal protection. Having people here reconnecting to animals, to the cats, to the dogs, but even to the wild animals, the snakes, beginning to talk to them, beginning to see that each of us has a place. We don't need to fight each other. And I see people calming down, seeing the beauty of nature, and suddenly start singing or playing guitar or something. They just get happy once they're here for 2 or 3 weeks. I didn't have anybody talking to worms so far. But nonetheless, we could do it. As long as we are connected from the heart, there's no problem.
Hmm.
So getting the connection to the time we are living in at the moment. What governments demand from us is social distancing, is not seeing family, is not going out of the district, sometimes not even leaving the house, depending on the country and the restriction. So how to stay connected to nature, to people, to family, if you have restrictions and laws to follow that say the total opposite of it and even are hard to understand.
I would say for us here, I live here with my partner and 3 kids, 2 step kids, and one of my own, and have a very cheery friend that lives down the back of the property, and Neil. So we all live here together, and I've found like my initial response to all of the restrictions. So we've been probably one of the luckiest, well, fortunate places, as in we've had the less restrictions, I think, from everybody here in WA. But the initial response from myself was to create community projects online. So I put together a We Are the World track and invited the community to record their little snippet, and I would put it all together. And I think because of the initial shock, that was my first impulse. And so I responded in that way. And then because the community didn't really take to it, like I think everybody just was in shock, and then so I became quite disheartened. But moving on down the track, I've really been putting a lot of more focus on, well, still doing my, evolution path and meditation and so on, but really working with the family and just the immediate people and the animals and the bush and the trees and whatever, but it's just with what's available. And because I think it's difficult when you go out. It becomes a bit difficult when you go out to the shops or something, because what I'm struggling a bit with lately anyway is the diversity of madness that's out there. People are just completely crazy. But yeah, so that's what we've been doing here anyway, is just working. Well, I have been just sort of simplifying down. And I mean, it's enough just with these kids here, and to learn and grow, it's enough. And then obviously I work with a choir, and then I have kids come in for singing and stuff, so I have all of that contact. But yeah.
So you are in a lucky place.
Yes, I think we're very fortunate. Yeah.
How is it for the others?
What was that?
I said, how is it for the others? For Mansoor, Wendy,
Yeah.
Martha?
So this social distancing, I think, is a wrong term. It should just be physical distancing, because we are all connected socially. So if you just say that you're not disconnected socially, because man is a social animal, and we need that society to function. So we have to connect if we cannot connect physically, we have to connect through our hearts. And we have to express our love, our unconditional love to everything around us. So then instead of being an atmosphere of fear and anxiety, there is love all around. So that fear, anxiety, and all the relevant problems associated with that, depression, obsessive compulsive disorders of washing your hands and sterilizing and sanitizing, everything, it just sort of minimizes. So we replace fear with love through our meditations, through our actions, through our expressions. So it's become a more open way to live rather than a facade, which is put up with masks. So the mask go off and you have to just be yourself. I think that's what this has taught us, this period has taught us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, for me personally, it hasn't made a huge amount of difference. Having seen what happened in 2005 and 2009, I never believed the official narrative from the word go. I wear a face diaper to go to the shops. But other than that, I give free hugs and have throughout. It got me the virus at Christmas, but that was an excellent gift because I now have a kick-ass immune system and good natural immunity. So I've never treated it as anything other than a seasonal virus, albeit a serious one. But they have been trending more seriously for at least the last decade. And this is something we need to pay attention to because I think a lot of it arises from our damage to the world's ecosystems. But nevertheless, our natural immunity is our greatest protection. And the official narrative has completely lacked any discussion of that at all. We're given to understand the only cure is a pharmaceutical one, which is nonsense. So really, I've become a bit of a keyboard warrior in defense of natural immunity, really just following the science, reading the medical journals, getting to the truth and putting it out there in a way where I try and avoid as much censorship as possible simply by going to the source, which they can't fact check. But I think, reassuring each other, getting the truth out there, and being in nature. I mean, daily, hands in the soil really, really helps. It helps ground, it helps any fear that might arise. Breathe, get out into nature. I was so happy to see during the first lockdown that so many people were getting out into nature and rediscovering that connection, the beauty that they felt. They were bowled over. It was such a beautiful spring here and everywhere. For some reason, it made me smile. The birds were singing more loudly, the trees were more beautiful, the blossoms were just glorious, and people were caught, entranced. And I'm going, oh yeah, it's the earth calling us back. Come on, fall in love with me again. Realize who you are, what your place is. Very, very beautiful. So within all this strange experience, we have the opportunity for so much beauty, so much connection, so much resetting of our cultural programming to realize that we're kind of in the death throes of a poisonous culture, poisonous belief system. And it's time to let it go. Time to let it go.
So rather go into the garden than go into the bar, and don't miss the bar. Socialize with the bees.
Yeah.
Maybe I could comment. I took time even to settle. I'll say from my experiences, because I live with the children with disabilities, and they really connect with the animals. I don't know. I'm not really trained in that area, but I don't know what the connection is. But there's a lot of healing when I just walk around an animal with a child who is interested in the specific animal. And I'll say that sometimes, even with all the rules that we have to follow, there's something that flows from the heart. And sometimes, if that is the only healing that the specific person requires, sometimes you have to do it because it is the solution that you have at hand. I will say that nature is just beautiful. And I have seen that a lot of green plants, just natural, whether it's a forest or flowers or just a vegetation, it's just beautiful. And there's a connection between disability and nature because it brings just a lot of solution without medication, without having to do so much. I was actually late to this meeting because of some children who had epileptic attacks, and I had to have their attentions. That's why I came to the meeting so unsettled, because I'm just from a traumatic thing.
Yeah.
But I'll say that let's appreciate nature as it is. And in as much as we have the challenges like the corona season, the COVID-19 thing, remember that there are some solutions like you can just imagine me and a child who needs me with immediate effect. For example, for us, we deal with children who you have to change they have supported toileting, for example, diaper. How do you social distance with a child who requires you to serve them, to change the diaper? You know, there are some things that you will not just try. We only have to take maybe the precautions that we need to, but in the services that we handle every day, there are things that will not just work. Because if you're talking about sanitizing, they don't even know what to sanitize is. I am the one to take the responsibility to do all that cleaning. They will not reason for themselves that they need the sanitizer to be able to keep off from some germs or anything. They don't even know what germs is. So they need our hugs. They need our love. They need those smiles. You'll not smile when you're 60 kilometers away. You'll have to smile around the child so that the child recovers from whatever distress it is. So we can say we can only do our best and let God have his way. Yeah. Thank you.
This is something very true you say. I remember raising little kitten, which the mother did throw away. Little kitten, 1 week old. If you don't take them to the heart and be around them and give body contact all the time, they just can't survive. And I think it's the same with disabled children. If you don't hug them, if you don't take them to the heart, they have it hard to survive. We can't hear you, Martha. You muted your mic.
Okay, again, I would say that there are some who you will not have like a communication apart from the non-verbal communication. And a lot of non-verbal communication is about the touch.
Yeah.
About the nature, like a nature walk, a nature drive. So we can just do our best. Yeah. They need reassurance. It's a lot about assurance, reassuring that the child is safe. So it's about hugs. It's about that, the warmth, the body touch. Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. Mansoor, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I'm listening to all this and I really find this nature, I'm going to get into this more, that nature really heals and you have to be one with nature like Wendy and Martha just said. So I think that's a very beautiful way of getting in touch with yourself and, you know, being one with the world rather than only people. So I think nature heals the most. Probably I'll have to be more active in that. I get more active in that, yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing that you said, being one with everything. And this being one with everything, I think, cannot be done from the mind, from the intellect. This is something which is easier from the heart, at least for me.
For me, I find I no longer differentiate between heart and mind because it's separation. If you experience yourself just as a being within this sea of life, this ocean of infinite potential, then those categorizations become, for me personally at least, more and more meaningless. And then the mind becomes, if you're using that model, in coherence with the heart. So there is no separation. And everything comes from that one center, that one source.
Neil, you wanted to say something, but your mic is muted.
Curious, the whole thing fell apart, so I apologize for that. So what's talking about here, and Martha's talking about it, the ability for the children to actually reconnect and to go into a healing experience, through their connection to Martha and the other carers, other people that are working with them, but also with animals that are around them and the wider environment. And this is all very common ground that we're talking about. And the added place that Martha is adding in there is that connection to God as well, as she's describing it. And so there's this wide connection of which, as everybody's talking about, it's all one. There is no separation. Even this fly that keeps running around my head and the 3 mosquitoes, they're all part of nature, and they're all part of, the experience that we're actually in as well. So, I can't think that the flies and the mosquitoes aren't a part of the experience. Of course, they're as much the experience as I am.
Yeah, it's all
It's a fly.
Yeah, well, there's actually about 7 flies and 5 mosquitoes that are trying to get at me at the moment.
Yeah, this is the trouble of being outside instead of inside.
That's right.
Ain't no flies on you, Neil.
Not with my hand waving around anyway, but yeah.
So what would you tell people who want to be one with everything and still did not have the experience in their life? What would you recommend to them? What to do to get this experience of oneness?
Yeah. Oh, no, you go.
I would wish to comment on this and say that we would just encourage each other in this world positively, because it's about matters that flow from the heart. It's about the things that flows from your mind. It's about the nature and the beauty around us. So I experience quite a number of people falling into a depression. And a lot of times, out of just a talk, I find that sometimes it's just a matter of like not knowing, or cluttering your mind with so much things that you cannot, are beyond you, or you want them, you look, the way you look at things. We all face challenges, but when you look at the positive, we look at the challenges positively. We just find ourselves flowing with the times. So it's an issue of allowing our hearts to flow good, even amidst a lot of negative. Just do your best to put up the best. And again, in our minds, even the worst of a challenge, when we look at it and we try to just think positively, even in the negative, you try to take what is the positive, what is this that I can offer to be able to solve the problem at hand, or to face that challenge. Just let it flow from your mind and do it. And then just walk around and look at the beauty of the world, the stones, the green, the nature, and the animals, the vegetation, everything. Allow yourself to just be, let's allow ourselves to just exist, because that is the only thing that we have. All of us, we have it. It's the way we want to use it. So if we choose that we are going to flow, good is going to flow from our hearts, despite the situation. I am going to give the best thoughts. I mean, I would love to think it positively, despite how hard it is. And I would love to enjoy the life as it is, because I'm existing in a natural setup. So that's all. That's the best we can offer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've seen this transform a lot of people, by the way. People who looked at things so negatively, or people who really want to fight something, to penetrate something, and they can't, and then they feel the distress. I mean, they get frustrated out of it. You cannot force things to go the way, everything cannot go on the way we want. Everything cannot go on according to my preference. But sometimes I will give my best and let nature take its place, and allow my mind to appreciate that is a fact, and then exist in the world and look at the beauty of it, instead of looking at all the negative things that are around me and taking them in my heart. No, let's just exist and allow things to flow, and then put the best out of it, out of yourself. Then you have no guilt when you have given your best. So that is nature, and that is the only way that we can live best. Yeah.
Wise words, Martha, wise words.
So my offering would be probably a combination. So sitting down in somewhere like where we are here, we've got lots of trees and nature around us, and you always hear the birds, and we've got a couple of dogs and chickens and all sorts of things. But and so it is a very beautiful place. So my offering would be to firstly take time for some, if you meditation, or just sitting quietly within a peaceful setting and focusing on the breath, and actually just allowing everything to fall away, all of the busy thoughts and everything, to find that still calm place within the heart. And then I think, in combination to that is then going out, and whether it's in person or, if we're not able to over the internet or by phone, to connect to another person or people where you can, provide a service, or even just a listening ear or something for another person, because I feel that when we can do our meditation and everything, but there's always the, I suppose, how much knowledge and practice and experience we have, it can become disconnected almost, if we don't know what we're doing. And so the second component of going out and connecting in some way with another person, with the intention of connecting with the heart, to actually be of service to another person, I think that is important. So that would be my suggestion.
Being of service and giving others what you would like to have for yourself is always a very, very good way to learn to love. Opens the heart a lot. This is what charity work is about.
I just love what Martha's saying. I just love what you're saying, Martha, because that no matter how difficult the circumstances are, and goodness me, in the situation that you're suffering, where you are there, with the government taking away funding and all of these restrictions that you're experiencing, to hear somebody like yourself who's explaining, just how they're able to actually see the best in the situation, and to look for the happiness and so on, and within all of that struggle. It's a remarkable example to us all. So I take my hat off to you, Martha, and with what you're doing. So, and the same thing, obviously, the extension of it occurs for all of us. So, with whatever calling that we're in, everything from being a permaculture farm to, doing some, work as I do with clients individually, that opportunity to actually see the bright opportunity in everything is, what I'm taking that from what you're saying, Martha. It's really quite remarkable. Thank you. Yeah.
Who remembers the song "Always Look on the Bright Side of Life"?
Martha Brian, yeah.
Monty Python. It's just made me think of that when I hear you talking. And it's something we forget very often. The best days in my life are the days when I get up in the morning and just feel absolutely happy without any cause behind it. I wake up, I'm happy. I see one of the cats. Cat jumps at me, give me hugs. I give the cat hugs. And then we just start the day. These are the really good days.
Well, it's really about being present, isn't it? I mean, it's just a case of pay attention, show up, do what has to be done. And thinking back to the times where, that was brought home most obvious to me, was in times of extreme stress, like when we were completely encircled by wildfires, no escape. And so what do? You are wholly present in the moment, in that moment. You can't be anything else. Your life depends on it. And the experience of how your vision and your sense of the world around you expands in those situations really gives us a fantastic hint of how it is the potential for us to exist all the time. If we simply release all that chatter and those preconceptions and those plans. And I mean, that's one of my sort of favorite sayings from an Irish friend of mine was like, how do you make God laugh? Make a plan. And we're so caught up in this stuff. We are so caught up in this stuff. It stops us completely from being present and having the capacity to observe every little minute interaction. I mean, watching you try and fend off these flies reminded me last year. I recently started keeping bees. They turned up 2 years ago. So I'm still very much a novice beekeeper. But the bees, if they need attention, they come and get my attention. They will literally come and one bee will hover in front of my eyes. And I go, okay, I'll check you out. And usually they need another box to put more honey in. And the communication is instant. And if I ignore them, one will come and sting me. It's like, you're not paying attention. Come on, And all of this is just so beautiful. So beautiful. And we're closing ourselves off to it with these concepts of this awful, boring construct of a world we live in. There is so much to laugh about. There is so much to dance about. There is so much to hug about. And even with this social distancing, I don't know. It doesn't stop you reaching out with your heart and enclosing people in a virtual hug. And they can feel it. They can feel it.
But as Martha said, a physical hug cannot be ignored. We have a very big question entering from the chat. Zacchaeus asked, the developed world seems to be going back to the basics, while the third world seems to be determined to get to the first world. I work in the villages and life is very basic there. People are surrounded with trees, children, praying mud. We watch and interact with pretty much everything from birds to insects so easily. But yet all this is sometimes made to appear as we are surrounded by poverty instead of wealth. How do we balance progress and not losing our connection to nature? Must we lose it before we gain it again?
It's a great question.
Great question, yes. This is
It's a
why
great
I
question.
read all the text. Who wants to answer?
Let me share on this. And so in as much as we would love to like upgrade and ignore something like nature, you're just going to get depressed. You're going to get heart diseases and other things. Because sometimes just living natural, just taking it as it is. Yes, you can afford to go to the next desired level. Like it may seem in the let's say in the culture. I mean, maybe someone is rated like you want to live this standard of life if you have this kind of money. But sometimes there are things that you will not ignore. In as much as you would love to upgrade, nature is the best connect. Because if at all you're like childhood, I have just been doing a survey in Kenya, like what the children are going through at this time. Yes, we have upgraded. We would say that we have upgraded. But recently, the education system in Kenya has gone back to curriculum-based. It is now the way of life as it is, not the books only. Because a lot of us, like the systems we went through, there was a lot of shortcomings because we were not, there are some things that we didn't do in school because it was books, and then we were not like connecting. During the system that I went through, there was not much connection with the natural aspects. But right now, our country has taken the children back to the system. Learning about the washing of the utensils, keeping things in order, using natural things to come up with products and all that. And I'm looking at it as a beautiful, it's something just good, because when these children grow and become big, they will use what is available. They will be able to use the available resources around them to come up with ideas that maybe can come up with like a business idea or something out of a natural thing. But the system that me personally, I went through during the times that I was in school in Kenya, there was a lot of there was a lot of shortcomings in the education system. So when you get out, we happen to, if the parent did not make an effort of introducing their own children to the systems, it became very difficult because you would find like a university graduate who cannot be able to perform simple duties. You see, there was that disconnect. But I would say that nature is the best. Just allowing life to be as it is. If a child sleeps on the ground, just let the child enjoy the sleep. When they are through, you'll take the child back to the house and clean up the child. And that child, when the child grows, they will not miss that child because they went through that. I just say that it's about nature. I think everything is about just allowing nature to take its course while just taking precautions according to what you have learned, maybe in class, maybe because of health, or maybe because of nutrition. You need to consider that a meal needs to have this and this for the child to be like this, but allowing nature to take its course.
Martha, what you're saying reminds me on my own studies of veterinary science. You learn a lot. But what you don't learn is to take a little kitten or a little rabbit in your hand and feed it with artificial milk. You just don't know how to do it. And if you don't have a mother or a granny who showed you, even as a grown vet, you can't do it because you don't learn these things in university. And it's a shame.
It is true.
It's a total shame.
One of the things that I've been working with a lot with my clients recently is the issues around scarcity. And so, you know, if we're thinking about, you know, people in Kenya where they're, you know, struggling for money and struggling for, you know, food and other resources and so on, it's easy to get hooked into the idea of scarcity. And much of the, you know, the talk that we've had here today, and particularly what Martha's actually explaining about the work that she's doing, is really about abundance. Like there's this abundance of experience. And, you know, this is the real deal, is to get away from the scarcity model, get away from the need for there to be surplus, so that I have a new suit to wear, that I have, you know, a new car to drive or whatever. So any of those things which are to do with surplus are deeply connected to scarcity. So you can't have scarcity without surplus, and you can't have surplus without scarcity. What you can have instead, what you can do is you can make the jump. You can jump out of that duality and you can jump into a place of abundance. And abundance is just seeing the trees, seeing the sky, you know, being able to fight off 10 flies and 5 mosquitoes. And it's an abundant experience, you know, like it's a fully abundant experience. And it's all here. It's here for everybody. And so whether you're in Kenya or in Australia or in Portugal or in Greece or, you know, wherever anybody else is, it's the same thing. It's we're presented with the same option. We can either be locked into we don't have enough, or we've got a bit extra and we've got a bit more than somebody else. So we can lock ourselves there, or we can gain freedom by actually recognizing the abundance all around us. And, you know, that's what the conversation's about. This is what we're all talking about.
Yeah.
I should think in India, Mansoor, it's much the same sort of issue as well.
Yes.
Scarcity and surplus.
That's true. With the technology coming in, so people are just glued to technology and they are just missing out on life. So with everything online, so it's just become everything. It's just a screen and computers or whatever you might say. And then we're missing out on all this, which is abundant, as you all say. So the balance is missing. The balance has become skewed, you know.
How it seems to me
Cost of development, yeah,
how it seems to me that this has arisen is a long history. I mean, it's got to go back thousands of years into prehistory. Yeah. And it all hinges on this one societal mantra, call it a program if you like, that life is a fierce competition for survival in a hostile world. We have internalized that to the degree that even when we survive comfortably, we cannot stop competing. We cannot stop fighting nature. We cannot help ourselves. And so the ultimate conclusion of that is our present situation, where we have this massive inequality, 1% of the population cornering so much wealth, they don't know what to do with it. They could never spend it in one lifetime, and still they can't stop. I mean, these billionaires have doubled, trebled their wealth during this last year alone in the pandemic. This is the ultimate of that particular worldview. Whereas, of course, nature, and in fact, even all material existence is founded on cooperation. You can't have a molecule without atoms cooperating. You can't have a living cell without molecules cooperating. You can't have an ecosystem without, or an organism without those cells and organisms cooperating with each other. It's cooperation that's the foundation of life. We've got it completely wrong. And so, as you were saying, Neil, scarcity, always this feel of scarcity, you know, we don't have enough, we can't survive, it's hostile. And so we create the scarcity by completely raising life from the planet. It's insane. We are insane.
I was just what Mansoor, what you were talking about with the technology, and that I find with the 3 kids here, you know, with I you know, definitely agree. You know, nature is basic cooperation. It should all be cooperation as well, and connection and everything. And the kids here, you know, with their phones, it's like having to put in these rules on how long they can be on their phone for and how much screen they can have. And I'm like trying to get them to go outside, and, you know, I have a bit more sort of control over what my daughter does. But really try to get her to go outside and connect with nature, but also with her friends and actually go out and do stuff, you know, rather than sitting in their room. I hate it because it's such a disconnect. But in saying that, I found I've had to really try to expand my thinking rather than, you know, this is bad and this is good. Even within that paradigm of cooperation, connection, and nature, and doing all of that, because, for example, my daughter has, you know, made really good friends with a girl in America, and they want to stay on the phone sometimes for 3 hours just talking, and they're having a ball, and they are connecting, and it's actually, I would say, it's good for her and the other girl to be doing that. And it's really tricky once you start trying to take all these concepts and actually then place them into your own life and into a family, and how you try to apply them. It can get really difficult as to then, do I really hold, no, you should be outside and in the sunshine and whatever. But then she's talking, it just gets, yeah, I don't know. It's really tricky. When you start trying to actually to apply it in that way. But yeah, I definitely agree with everything that's been said, and yeah, just keep going, do the best we could do.
Well, could we not see that in a more positive light, like you've just highlighted, that our kids spending so much time in the virtual world is because the real world of the society we've created for them no longer serves their needs, no longer satisfies them in any way. So they're searching for something else, other connections, other knowledge, other ways of being, you know, even in these online games. I remember my son used to be into World of Warcraft, and to begin with, I was thinking, oh God, what is this? But then I sat down and played it with him, and I thought, this is actually really good. It's like a living myth, you know, it's creating a story as you go. And, you know, I could see what he got out of it. So perhaps rather than seeing it all as something purely negative and that we should be pushing them outside, what is it they're looking for? And find what they're looking for, then see, can we replicate it in real life? I don't know. But I know that, well, here we all are in a virtual world communicating with each other. We wouldn't be having this conversation were it not for the screen. So there's two sides to the coin.
Definitely, they're always there.
Maybe I would share a recent experience with my son too. I realized that he loves animals while at a tender age. So we never used to have any animal. So he would bring in the dogs, and it wasn't my thing. It wasn't something that I loved. So I would feel pissed off, but I had to put up because this is my son. I don't have an alternative. He would go out hunting with the community boys. And then I would be pissed off because now he's even going to the forest. I have to keep worrying. Now the rains are on and my son is nowhere to be found. And then he would tell me that he was chasing the birds. So when I realized that this is something that I can't fight him, so I had to I began having the animals now because he had initiated. And at the end of the day, I had the pottery, I had everything. Then during the school holidays, I allowed him to be on duty. He's the one to take care of the animal because it's something that he loves. So I used to see him watch a lot of veterinary issues. He would watch, there's a program that is it's usually viewed in Kenya. It's called Dr. Paul. And he really watches that. So every time he would tell me, Mom, give me all the duties that you have because the program is about to start and I don't want to be disrupted. So one day, one of our cows had a difficult birth. And so I called the vet. And then when he heard that the cow has a difficult birth, he rushed and he assisted the cow. Then I asked him, where did you learn this? Yeah, I watch on Dr. Paul every day.
Then I was like, for once, I have realized that he's now watching the TV became helpful to me, because the cow would have died. But he told me that now what he watches, now he came to put in practice. So I thought, sometimes I think if we see something in a child, and we just allow that them to progress with that. But it was very difficult for me, because it's not something that was in me. It was not something that I had wished. It was not something, but now I tried, I saw that I wouldn't fight it. I wouldn't fight my son to stop going hunting, to stop going to look for dogs, to keep bringing cats and telling me that I am going to take care of my cat while I'm away. You know, I would be given orders, you do this, you cook this, you do this. Then it is not within my budget, or it's not even within my time to sit down to cook for all those animals but now I have realized that at the end of the day, allowing him to just be who he wanted to be, it was helpful to me. Okay, he's still in high school, he's just sitting his examinations. But one thing I'm sure, because he loves animals passionately, and he's already proved to me that whatever he's watching on TV is helpful in the real world. I think it is the best thing now that I feel. But then it was the worst thing I used to feel when he's giving me orders on how to treat his animals while he's away. Yeah. So sometimes virtual, the children can bring what they are learning to the reality. So let's not say that everything is that bad, but sometimes when they watch things that we wouldn't wish our children learn. But sometimes we can encourage by allowing that when you know that they are interested in a certain area, allow them to watch as much as possible. And then all the other time, try to give them a lot of work, create some jobs so that they are busy, so they don't have time, because they will still go to watch, whether we want it or not. They will fight their way to watch what they love most. But it's not all in vain. I am a proud mother today, because I know if my animals have a problem, in as much as he's not a vet, I am sure there is someone who has learned so much through television, and he can be able to apply in the animals, even when the vet delays to arrive.
Mm-hmm. You know, Martha, my first book was Dr. Dolittle. And now the book I'm writing at the moment is Living Like Dr. Dolittle. And this is the project of my life. And one of the first TV series I watched is Dr. Dolittle. Had a deep, deep impact on me. We have another question in the chat. Martha has touched on something significant. Education in the third world is so white-collar centered. For example, Africa has always had midwives who have helped deliver babies successfully. Instead of considering and enhancing these natural skills and experience, modernization seems to diminish and demonize the traditional midwives. I think I take away from this is whatever we do and run away from, we eventually come back to it.
I'm just sorry, going to take a minute. I've got to leave. I'm sorry, everybody. I've got to go and do dinner and things there. But thank you for including me, and it's been lovely talking.
Okay, bye, Storme.
Thank you, Storme.
Okay, bye.
Bye, bye.
So this is something else, which is a difficult thing, that we have so much traditional knowledge, and with our artificial education, we are losing that knowledge. And sooner or later, we'll come back to it. It's the same with homeopathy. We went a path away into allopathy, and then now we're coming back, because even in COVID, homeopathy is giving the better treatment and is more successful, at least for those who know how to do it.
I think for sure that's the case. It certainly lessened my own experience of it and helped me through the aftermath, because that's no joke either. I mean, it does hang on. There are consequences. I think for a lot of people, some estimates say as many as 70% have some form of post-viral impact. But you hear nothing of that in the mainstream media, nothing at all.
No.
I think the system has to collapse. It has to fall apart. That's the only way for the majority that it's going to loosen its hold. Certainly looking at the way things are in my home country, the level of, I can't call it anything other than insanity. I'm sorry, it is. And the level of fear that's been hyped up is off the charts. And the only way I can see that this is going to come to a conclusion is if it's allowed to get to the state where it falls apart. I can't see any other way, really. We've all been, you know, in our various alternative communities talking for decades about this coming and what can we do about it, and have we made much impact? I don't know, maybe changed a few hearts and minds, but where was it? I saw some quote this morning and it briefly flashed in front of me, and I can't remember it word for word or even who said it, but it was something like, human minds change en masse in an instant, but they unwind one by one. And I think that, you know, that to come out of this collective psychosis, it is very much a one by one experience. Everyone coming to this realization in their own time, in their own way. And this is why in some ways you can't say to anyone, there is this great way to connect with the heart, to connect with nature, because it's individual. It's totally individual. We are all unique. We all have our own paths. We all have our own ways back to that. And what works for some doesn't work for others. You know, it all depends on that uniqueness that we are. And we live in a society dominated by science, which, while it's an extremely useful tool, has ignored the vast part of the relevant data in any situation because of this insistence on replicability. So we end up in, you know, in homeopathy speak with the common symptoms and not the individual ones. And it's the individualizing ones that are the critical ones. We do need to, I think, throw ourselves into complete chaos before we can come back out with something that makes more sense. And we will do it because we have to. I don't know. Does anybody else see any other way forward?
It's a really interesting question. You know, when you like what you're hypothesizing here is there needs to actually be a collapse. And I actually completely agree with you. Not that I'm forecasting a collapse, but I can't see a way through there being actually a total failure before enough people actually make changes, and you know, like, you know, start behaving like Martha and actually seeing the beauty in everything around her. And you know, until we can actually start to do that, we and this, it requires tremendous pressure, which we are under. Like, there is phenomenal pressure going on worldwide at the moment. And yet people are still holding. They're holding on to this whole scarcity formula. You know, they're desperate for surplus, fearful of scarcity, you know, all the adversity. And, you know, so few are actually looking for, you know, the recognition of what they actually have. So few. So how does that change, you know, without a collapse? I can't personally see it. I can't see another route.
Yes, and I can tell you that here in Greece we are short before collapsing. Economical system is in very bad shape. And as we heard a fortnight ago from Goran, Montenegro is on the edge of civil war because people don't have anything to eat. So it's coming. It's coming. It's going for transformation, and maybe it's going to be a transformation by fire. But then again, as you know, in Australia or in other countries, Portugal and Greece, we know the wildfires in the forest. After that, it's growing again.
Oh, for sure. You know, it was only about 3 weeks ago we had forest fires, which started only less than about 2 or 3 kilometres from where I am, and the fire front in the end was, I think it was something like 70 kilometres long, the actual front of the fire, and you know, that's an extraordinary experience, and yet everything is starting to grow. It's beginning again. That's the case. But I you know, when I'm talking about a collapse, I'm not necessarily forecasting that it's going to, you know, come to that type of social unrest. But I think the collapse and the change needs to come from the recognition within ourselves. So there needs to be enough people. There has to be that critical mass of people who are deciding, no, I'm going to, you know, take the word of Martha and actually start to see the beauty around me. I'm going to, you know, really take advantage of where we are. So, like, you know, I live in a country with enormous privilege, really, in terms of the natural resources and that type of thing. You know, like, it's easy for me to grow vegetables and, you know, connect to everything that's around me. Like, it's simple for me to do those things. The hard part is to actually divorce myself from the fears of scarcity. You know, like, that's the challenge. The challenge is to actually take myself out of that. So anyway, that's just where I'm thinking.
Well, if you go through scarcity, you know, it's about facing our fears, isn't it? I mean, since the fires took every single one of my last resources, I've been living since then on a wing and a prayer. But here I am, you know, 3-4 years later. No income last year because of this virus, but I'm here. I'm still smiling, you know.
Yeah.
And it's actually incredibly liberating to be free of that fear. And then you realize, you know, to what extent you've been programming yourself and creating the bars of your own prison.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, for all of us to be thrown into that scarcity, to be completely disempowered, will be the moment we discover how much power we really have. You know, there is nothing more powerful on this world than a person who has nothing left to lose, because then, you know, the system has no hold on you, none.
Definitely. Martha?
Okay. Yeah. Maybe I would comment and say, if you look at the way of life in this world, naturally, even the most difficult scientific discovery, for example, maybe something like someone discovers, like, I have cancer, I am dying. What is the best, which is the best place to break this news? The best place is in a natural setup. Maybe you take a walk, a nature walk, and break the news, or you play a game just naturally, and in the middle of the game, you are able to break the news. Look at the beauty of nature. It is still, everything is striking back to nature. And even in these difficult times where we have been told about social distancing and everything, it's about us to think, how do I get out of this problem? You can even put on the music and dance. You're alone. Dance it out, and then you just feel relaxed and continue with life. That way it takes the pressure of life so low, so that we are able to survive through. Because if we keep thinking so much about the virus, we are going not to die of the virus, but to die of the distress that comes along with the thinking of the virus. There's so much pressure at this hour. And sometimes you just find yourself like something is not just working out. Do you die? Do you sit back and not do anything? you have to continue every day with the life. You have to wake up and work so that you have something to eat. You have to look at it as positive as possible to be able to exist and enjoy. Because this life is short. It's about the quality of life, and the quality is about the nature. And taking it naturally, it's almost cost-free. A lot of it is cost-free because it's a tree that has grown. It's a beauty. The beauty of nature is so much as free as possible. So let us use these things and exist so that we have quality life before we live. Yeah.
Definitely, Martha. It depends on trust. On trust in life and trust in the nature. And if you lack that trust, you are in desperate problems. And I guess the more trust you have, the more serendipity follows your path. What would you say, Mansoor?
This has just been a wonderful learning experience for me because I've not been exposed to this sort of experiences which, Wendy, Martha, Neil, I know they all have. So it has just been something which I need to experience and live. And it's just something which is very revealing to me, very different than the life I'm living. So I need to go out there and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So take the experience and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to that life.
Yeah. It seems a very beautiful life, an enjoyable life without any thing holding you back, and it's almost free of charge. It's just there for you to enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about our mindsets, our hearts, and then the natural beauty. Yeah.
That's true.
I think this is the point Franz from Assisi reached in his life. He was a very wealthy man and he dropped everything just to live the power of the divine and go back to the spirit. And in the end of his life, we know that he just did 2 blessings on a wolf, and the wolf was a vegetarian after. And he followed him like a dog. And that wolf was said to be a man killer in the forests of that time. Franz von Assisi himself is said to be one of the monks and healers, talking to nature, talking to animals, and being there for everything. Seeing the abundance everywhere. And when we follow his letters, he said that when he changed his mind, the colors got brighter. And there was so much more light in nature. One of my heroes. So we're reaching the end of our talk. May I ask your final words? Who wants to begin?
Maybe let me begin. Let me share just a recent experience which took a natural course. I have children that have already reconnected with their families. So the relatives came, and there are these children that so far haven't got to where they belong, abandoned children. So this one child cries and tells Mom, I want to go. I want to go. He just wants, because there are some that are going, and he really cried. And I thought, that is the first time that I thought that, by the way, I should have a holiday home where we move from this point, and the children who we haven't got their people, we can go out there and come back. I realized that we really needed to get away out of this place. So the child cried, and I thought, I kept thinking, now what do I do to this child? Now where I wish I knew the mother, but now where is the mother? How can I get the mother? I don't have an idea how I would reach the mother because I don't know who the mother is. And here is the child crying and telling me, I want to see my mother. And then I don't know where to get the mother. So I got a quick note and I went to my neighborhood. I talked to one family and said, tonight I want a vacancy for 2 people to sleep here. So it wasn't easy for me because getting into people's family and you don't know their plans. But I explained and said, I have a child. I want him to get out of my right now. I mean today, and I want him to get out. And since he can't sleep alone, he has to have an assistant because he can't walk. He has to be toileting and everything. I just want you to help me with one night to sleep over, for them to sleep over here, and then I'll come for them. So I took son, my real son now, and that child in a neighborhood. And I'm telling you, the following morning, by the time the guy, I went to collect them the following morning, the boy was so happy, calling the owner of that home my grandfather. You know, now he had another family. My grandfather, I am going back home. You know, now he's happy. All he wanted is to go and then to feel the relief. I imagined it is not an easy thing because I have never imagined myself knocking the doors of my neighbors to request for help. But here is a human who has a need, and he really needed that help. And I didn't have money maybe where he could go to a hotel or something, but he needed a connection of a family because what he was missing is a family unit. So I found myself now knocking to a door that I thought maybe would be accommodating. But by the time I got the place that he would go, it was the 4th door. Because the others, maybe they would complain this, they would say maybe we can't manage a child with disability. What about if he dies here overnight? Such things. I realized how difficult it was to place a child with disability into someone's family unit. But then there's this family that allowed me and said, go and bring them. They have a night over. And then they had a lot of time with the boy because I had explained the need. The need of the boy is to feel like belonging to another family. And I just need it for one night so that he doesn't sleep crying the whole night. Maybe this is just a natural need. And when he slept there, he was very happy. So today, like he tells me, Mom, will you take me to say hi to my grandfather? Now he already knows like he has another family. And that has settled him completely. Now he feels that he belongs. And even when he's here, he has a place he can go to. You imagine that is about a natural, it is just nature. The family just took it naturally that this is a child like any other. But you see, before I got that family that would agree, three families before I got now, the 4th one is the one which accepted. Why? Because of the stigma associated with disability. What if the boy is here? What if the boy's collapses here? What if the boy's, but I'm saying, I'm bringing the boy with my son who knows him. They will sleep over, and it's just a matter of just feeling that he went out. Yeah, and it was helpful. And today, he's a happy boy. He solved everything. So it's about nature.
It's about nature. Who's next?
As I can say, sorry.
You go, Mansoor.
Yeah, okay. As I can say, it's just been, again, I'm repeating it again, the fabulous learning experience from your real life experiences. And I can never forget this. And I have to implement this because I just need to live that life. You know, so that's all I can tell you. But thank you all for all your lovely lessons. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I can't say anything other than what Martha has already said. It's in nature. We are nature. First and foremost, before we're human and all the mind messes we get ourselves into, we are nature. And we just need to drop into our essential selves and live as nature. live from the heart, live in the moment.
Thanks.
Well, that's wonderful. Yeah, like the message from me is the same as everybody's also saying, is to be connected, be in the moment, be present. And, you know, that coherence, we've thrown around the term coherence, and, you know, becoming actually coherent with our environment and understanding that we are our environment, like there's no separation, you know, is the way forward. So, you know, to be present is to actually become coherent, you know, onwards.
Onwards. So if we don't let it happen, there is no separation, and nothing has the power to inflict separation upon us. We can be connected all the time. We can be together all the time. We are effectively one all the time. And we just have to acknowledge the beauty in that. It's like a prayer, so be it.
So be it. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for attending. Thanks to our listeners for staying with us, and see you, the listeners, or you in a fortnight or in 4 weeks when we're doing the next English Live Talk. Thank you and bye.
Thank you, Marianne and
Thank you.
Sandra
Bye.
and all the participants. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.